Oh my God, I had the most epic of nose itches. And I didn't want to go to town in front of you and have you think that I was digging through my nose for some treasure. So this last bit, sorry about that. I had to just snap off real quick before going nuts about the nose itch. Um, Still itches a bit. I don't know why. Okay, so the last thing that we want to talk about was, there we go, the speech. Okay. And this is very interesting because it's the information is corroborated on so many sides that Donald can't really uh, deny it. You know, things are scripted and then things aren't scripted. The only way that you know that they aren't scripted is because they weren't part of the script that he was given to read from the teleprompter. And the only way you hear what he has to say is when he says it and it's been recorded in those recordings and saved in National Archives. And you get to see why he didn't want these documents to be released and the impact they have had. Now, it was, we learned from the seventh hearing that the speech devolved into a call to action, the sixth speech. And part of that was, and we will have to see whether Mike Pence enters history as a truly great and courageous leader. All he has to do is refer the illegally submitted electoral votes back to the states that were given false and fraudulent information where they want to recertify. Speechwriters took out that line, and then after Mike and Donald had a tense phone call, and Donald called Mike a wimp, among other things, Donald instructed the speechwriters to reinsert the Mike Pence lines. And then further than that, there were ad libs, things that were not part of the script that Donald said when he was on stage, where the scripted reference, there was only one scripted reference to Mike Pence, and Donald made 8 references. There was one reference to the rally goers and the march that would happen in the speech, and he turned that into 4. And these are the things that Donald said that day from his Stop the Steal rally. You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong. I hope Mike has the courage to do what he has to do. We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you won't have a country anymore. Let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. And then he didn't go down Pennsylvania Avenue. He lied, and Donald's supporters believed him, and they went to the Capitol. And as a result, people died. Many of his supporters' lives will never be the same, Representative Murphy said at the hearing. And we learn about that specifically from Sergeant Gonell and then Mr. Ayers, and then the countless who have said that at their plea hearings and their sentencings and their leniency hearings and their delay hearings and their conviction times. They've so many times you hear that, you know. Their lives aren't the same. Their lives are ruined because of Donald. But he's still golfing. He's still out there. He's still spreading his seditious lie that killed people, one of whom were his people. I think another one of his supporters also died outside of being trampled. I don't know for that for sure. You'd have to look that up. And then the last thing that I find to be sort of, I heard that Brad Parscale was still supporting Donald, and even after the hearing, he intends on being part of it. That's nothing different than Rusty Bowers, because both of them fall into the same category who would vote for Donald if he got elected again, simply because they would be the ones running the country and the power in the political um, ecosystem, right? And then taking the whole country down with them, because you see the level of dysfunction and the sort of unprofessional, just it's just shoddy. It's just shoddy. It's like you wouldn't want to live in a building made by the Trumps. You wouldn't want to eat a steak peddled by the Trumps. You wouldn't want to get educated by a university established by the Trumps. Why would you want? I mean, you wouldn't want a country governed by Trump. You don't. And anybody who says it was better during it, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. It really wasn't. If you think the economy works in a way that everything changes overnight from one president to another, then you simply don't know how reality works. Or and you stubbornly won't admit it. And but one thing that the committee told us, and this is the last thing I'll talk about, is in a private message exchange that they were able to access, Brad Parscale and Katrina Pearson have a conversation where Mr. Parscale talks about how it was the rhetoric that caused the violence on January 6th. And Katrina Pearson says it wasn't the rhetoric. And Brad says, Katrina, yes, it was. It's not like they were intending anybody to see that private conversation that was an encrypted message that they had to get access to. And by the way, that shows Katrina Pearson's state of mind, where even after that happened, she didn't really think it was the rhetoric that caused it. And it took somebody like Brad Parscale, who continues to be a supporter of Donald, to say, no, it was the rhetoric. I don't know if you understood the gravity of what he was saying, but the gravity of what he was saying is that Donald Trump used fighting words to incite an insurrection. He orchestrated and planned the insurrection while he was orchestrating and planning defrauding the electoral vote count. He did that with many people, all the way from Mike Flynn, Roger Stone, to John Eastman and Jeffrey Clark, and Mark Meadows, who was covering for him all the way to the end. And there were a few safeguards that saved us. And most of them still to this day would say that they had many good accomplishments during the Trump presidency. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Then that's not the point for what's happening with the hearing. The hearing is as precise and as honed in on one incident, which is Donald Trump's betrayal of the United States, of his breaking his oath of office, and of him committing seditious conspiracy to overthrow our government by defrauding the electoral vote count and inciting an insurrection, which cost the lives of 5 police officers, injured many of them seriously, over 150 police officers, ruined countless lives of his own supporters, and he has still not been indicted. It's 18 months past, more than 18 months, 18 and a half months past the insurrection. I'll tell you this much. when I made my predictions in November of 2020 and December of 2020, I didn't factor in how much of the GOP would be complicit and accomplices in Donald's seditious and traitorous crimes. I really figured that there would be a supermajority in Congress who would take him out of office. That didn't happen. I then thought there would be enough people to impeach him successfully. That didn't happen. I thought, and when I warn about it, a lot of naysayers, a lot of contrarians, a lot of people who are MAGA people say none of it's going to happen, nothing has happened. And you know what? From a perspective, nothing has happened. But from also another perspective, a lot has happened because dozens of people have pled guilty, three of whom pled guilty to seditious conspiracy. Over a dozen are currently indicted for seditious conspiracy. Enrique Tarrio being one of them, who went on a public tour of the White House on 12th of December. I don't know. I mean, you really want to take their word for it? The Trump White House saying that he went for a public tour and never met with the president? Maybe he didn't meet the president, but did he meet with anybody in the administration? I have questions. And maybe we'll learn about that from Enrique's case if he takes it to trial and doesn't cooperate. And, I still believe to this day that Merrick Garland will indict Donald Trump and his co-conspirators for more than one felony. I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again, that he will be held accountable. And I'll end with praying that Donald Trump has a long, long life so that he can stand trial, be convicted, and then live in the confines of a federal penitentiary or Mar-a-Lago, where nobody else is allowed in or out. Mar-a-Lago is no longer used for any other purpose other than holding Donald Trump. And make that a prison. No golfing, no social media, no meetings with anybody. If not possible, send him to a federal prison. Okay, that's all.